Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we have an '04 Dodge Durango with the 5.7 Hemi in it. 5.7 Hemi's in all sorts of Dodge and Chrysler vehicles. Chrysler 300, Charger, the Ram 1500, 2500, Durangos. But when it comes to the timing chain, it's pretty much going to be the same process for whatever you're working on. It's pretty easy to get to the timing chain. It took me about 3 hours once you get that radiator out of the way. Pretty easy process, self-explanatory. You just pretty much take everything off the front to get to it. First thing you're going to want to do once you get to the timing chain is you're going to want to rotate the motor to make sure you're at top dead center before you take the timing chain off, because this is an interference motor and you don't want to fuck nothing up after you've made it this far. The problem I was having with this specific 5.7 was it had jump timing. I wasn't sure if that was 100% the problem when I first started this project. I wasn't positive until I got to the timing chain and I knew I was right. I was about 40% worried that it was the famous cam and roller problem that these 5.7 Hemis have. The sound was coming from right in here, and I couldn't quite pinpoint it with everything on there. And I only got to hear this truck run for about 30 seconds before I bought it. Girl fired it up and it ran. Could hear the noise. My first instinct was that's the timing tensioner, but I wasn't sure because the truck died out and it never started again. So when I got it all torn apart, I realized that when I got to top dead center, I couldn't quite get it to go in time to straight to top dead center to the crank and cam. It was actually over maybe like a tooth, so I'm pretty sure it jumped time, and that's why I could not get the truck to run it again. To answer the question of how it jumps time, it's this right here. This tensioner is this. This is the noise I heard with the truck running, but like 1,000 times faster and so loud that you couldn't hear anything else going on besides this crazy noise coming from the motor. So with that being loose, it actually jumped time to where I couldn't get her to fire up anymore. Timing chain set, pretty basic, pretty easy with just a single cam in there. It's cheap. Anytime you can get a timing chain set for under $100, you're doing pretty good. So I'm going to pretty much to show you the process of putting this back together from here, because I figure you're not doing timing on a 5.7 Hemi unless you're somewhat mechanically inclined and you can figure out how to get to the point to where you're at the timing chain. When it comes to the oil pump, it is very possible to get the oil pump off without dropping your oil pan. You pretty much just have to put some rags under there so you don't drop your bolt down into the oil pan. Get your 1/2-inch wrench and just start taking it off. And you pretty much just leave the bolt right here, and as you're, get it to focus, you leave your bolt right here, and as you're turning it, instead of letting the bolt go down, you're letting the oil pump come up. So you can unbolt your oil pump so that way when you're twisting this nut or this bolt, the oil pump actually lifts itself up off of this. You just take a screwdriver or a wrench or whatever you want to pop it from the rubber O-ring right here. It pops right up and then it slides. You kind of twist it and you slide it back. Now the trick is putting it back on. You want to put the oil pump back on before you put your timing chain all the way back on, simply because your oil pump's going to bump right here, and this is going to be in your way getting it on there all the way. So what you're going to want to do, it's going to involve some zip ties and then your crank you're going to put your gear right here, your crank gear, into your oil pump and put the chain where it goes on here, which is that little dot right there. I don't know if you can see it. It's a little dot on one of the teeth that's going to line up on your marks on your chain. And then you're going to go put it on here so that way the chain is already on, so you can slip it over your cam gear and slide your cam gear up. But before I do all that, the crank, my crank anyways, right here is still not quite at the 2 o'clock. It looks like it's more about the 1 o'clock position. I don't know if you can tell on the camera, but it's not quite 2 o'clock yet. So I'm going to go ahead and move that and then jump to the part where I'm putting the oil pump on. Alright, once you get it all laid out like this, you want to make sure your oil pump, you got the back of it facing up. Then you're going to take your crank sprocket right here, your crank gear, and you're going to find the little dot. Take your timing chain. There's 3 marks on your timing chain. Might be different. I got mine from AutoZone, so I don't know if the marks are different from chain to chain, but take that 1 dot and line it up with a single black mark, not the 2, but the single one. And then you're just gonna feed it in. You're gonna hold it tight so it doesn't move. Always double check. Hold it tight so it doesn't move, and then feed it into your oil pump. You want the chain on the back side of your oil pump. Okay, now once you have it like that, take your zip tie and put it through your timing chain. You want to put it through your timing chain, not around your timing chain. Because if you put it on the outside of your chain, it's just going to slip up and down and defeat the whole purpose of what you're doing right now. Smaller the zip tie the better, because you don't have a whole lot of room inside the timing chain. Get it in there like that, where you know it's going to stay. This pair of cutters will snip that zip tie right back off. Okay, now your next step is going to be to put your oil pump on there just like this. So the chain is going to go up against the motor when you do this. And if you notice on the front side of the oil pump now, you can see where your 2 o'clock mark is going to be at. Alright, there it is with the oil pump back on. Use the bungee cord to hold the top of the timing chain up. I went ahead and snipped that zip tie out. Now you just got to make sure when you go to put your cam gear on that you keep tension on it, so you know that it doesn't, that bottom mark doesn't jump a tooth on you or anything like that. There you guys go with everything back on. Pin pulled for the tensioner. Everything's good to go. Once you pull it, right before you pull the tensioner, make sure that your marks look good. Everything looks good. Pull it. And now it's just reverse process putting everything back together.